Hey guys, welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter board game review. Today's game we have on the table is called Werewolf versus Vampire. Werewolf versus Vampire is by Torsten Dingheller, and it is for 2 players with a possible 3rd player with a variant on Kickstarter if it gets backed and gets the stretch goal. About 15 to 30 minutes, just 10 and up. Now the idea is 1 player plays as a werewolf and 1 player plays as a vampire. Now with the 3rd player variant, it could be the hunter, which I haven't seen yet for my copy. But the idea is you're going to have cards or actions that you can take on your turn as the werewolf and as the vampire. And you're trying to get a potion, and the potion is called the healing potion. And you're trying to get it to your base to either heal your leader or to stop somebody from healing their leader, depending on what character you're playing. Now, as the werewolf, you're going to have certain abilities that are going to let you run faster and go past the vampire places. And as the vampire, you're going to be able to go through spaces without having to have paths and having locations and placing them on the board. And it all sounds a little confusing. Let me go ahead and show you exactly what it looks like. Alright, so this is Werewolf versus Vampire. Now the first thing you need to do is put your starting location, which is number 1, on the far bottom left-hand corner. Of course, this is a little bit too big of a board for me to do my camera, so we're just going to put it here and pretend like it is, alright? Then we're going to take the goal location, this piece here, and put it at the very top right-hand corner, along with all of the rest of the locations with numbers on them, 2, 3, 4, and then randomly assigned numbers over here. So you're going to have the 2, 3, and the 4 exactly like this. These will go all shuffled, okay? Good. Also, you're going to have cards. So you have the vampire cards and the werewolf cards. Each player gets to keep these in their hand or in front of them. Doesn't really matter. And you can use them once per turn. And then once you've done that, they refresh on your next turn. You also get 5 path cards for each different player. The healing potions set out here. And the hideout location gets placed on the board next to the starting location. Now, a hideout basically means that anybody on these spaces here cannot be targeted or sent back to the home base. This is kind of a race game, right? So on your turn, you're going to start off, I think it's the werewolf who goes first, and he is able to move based on the cards placed and based on the locations here, right? So let me show you what I mean. All right, so the first thing you do before using cards or anything is you're going to set the board up. So the werewolf is allowed to place 1 location and a single path. So he will place, maybe he'll place his path here, and he'll move, and you can move for free as much as you want, and then he'll place his little path here, so location and path, and he'll end his turn. Then you have the vampire that comes on the board, and she or he gets us location 3, and they also get their little path, so they'll place 1 here, and they'll place it here, and they'll move. And rinse and repeat, and you'll keep doing these things until the entire board is filled up, maybe like this. And the interesting thing, too, is if you note these locations are hidden, so you don't know what you're going to get next. You can pick whatever you want as the vampire, flip it over, and a 5. Now, what you're trying to go for is the 8. If you can get the 8, you're going to start off with the potion, and the potion is really important because the potion is how you win the game. And we're going to keep going in here until we get the potion. Boom. Ha, here it is. Ha-ha. So, once you land on the 8, you still get to place your location, you get the potion. So this would be the werewolf who gets the potion. And the objective of the game, I'll move this down so you can see. Boop, 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 boop. Hopefully you can see up here. The objective of the game is to get to this location without going back and losing your potion. Now you can lose your potion whenever a character lands on your spot. Now there's different ways that can happen, but I'll explain like a couple turns right now. Basically, these tiles go off. We'll take these off so you don't have to see them, so you can see the board itself. But after the werewolf is gone, he's put his spot here, he's put his location. Now the game begins with all the actions that are involved, right? So you can have a bunch of different cards, and that will either hinder you or help you. Mainly these are going to help you, but the other ones, the werewolf cards, are going to hinder you. And you're going to use these cards to move through the spaces. Let me go ahead and go through them before we continue. Okay, so like I said, as soon as all of the locations are placed down, the person who landed on the 8 is the one who gets the potion. Their objective is to get to the goal, the far top right-hand corner of the board. Realizing, however, that your opponent is now trying to chase and hunt you down and take it from you and send you back. Whenever they send you back, you have to go to the 1 spot, which could be at the very back of the board, or it could be anywhere, depending on how it's picked up. That is based off of these cards here that you get. For instance, the vampire, it's the vampire's next turn. There's a couple of abilities, and I'll talk about them. The first one is Own Path. You can go ahead and take any of your own paths off of the board. When you do that, you can then use any path you have and any locations you have. And you can take locations that are basically not usable on the board. So if they're empty locations or they're not connected to another location, you can take those and use those to move. I'll show you that in a second. There's a tracker too. This is called the illusion tracker. Whenever you screw up on rolling to obtain a location with, which one is it? With this D10 dice, you'll roll the D10. Try and obtain a location. If you roll a 9, you get this little 9 here. And if you did, you could place it on the board. However, if you didn't, if somebody was already standing on the spot or it wasn't actually in play, you get a bad luck card, which would give you the ability to increase the tracker. The tracker has other ways of increasing it. Let's see. Oh, there's a +1 here. This little card here is a +1. You can increase it. But basically what it does is in a line, wherever you're standing, you can remove all of the werewolf's little path locations by playing this card. It usually takes 2 to 4 turns to do so. The vampire also has a bat ability, which means you don't actually have to have a path to move from location to location, as long as they are next to each other. So let me go ahead and explain to you the werewolf cards as well. The werewolf cards here have speed, which means you can run through a vampire path, provided you have a path next to it of your own. Or own path, you can just go ahead and take your own path, just like the vampire. The bite card, which lets you take any empty location card and put it back into your hand. And the rolling the 10 side, the D10, which is the same as the vampires. You roll the D10, hope nobody's landing on it, or nobody's on it, and you can take it. Now, if your opponent has it, or you have it, you can pull it from your opponent, or if you already have it, you keep it for yourself. Let me show you a couple of the uses for these cards and how they work during gameplay. Okay, so it's the vampire's turn, and she's gone ahead and moved here, right? Now, she's got a couple abilities she can do. Like, for instance, the bat. She can transform into a bat and move to any space, even though the path is missing. So if he actually had the potion, which he does, she could just go right across and take the potion from him and knock him back to 1, which kind of sucks. And after that, she would play any other abilities she had. Maybe she played a D10, the bad luck thing, which is because if she played the D10 here, she rolled and it happened to be something she couldn't use. For instance, this is an 8, so if she rolled an 8 on here, she couldn't use the space, she couldn't take the space, so she would get the bad luck. Well, that all has to do with the tracker. The tracker actually has these 4 things that start off of it, and every turn she can add +1 to that tracker and puts it up, as well as whenever she gets the bad luck, she can add another one. So theoretically, in 2 turns, provided she has enough bad luck, she could get this tracker going. And that would mean the vampire would get to use illusion, which means that in a straight line, she or he could remove any of the werewolf's tracks. So like these right here. Whenever you take tracks or remove tracks, you then get to place them. Remember, you can't hold on to your opponent's tracks, so you'll have to place them somewhere on the board. Maybe you should place them somewhere over here or whatever. But you have to place them. Now your own, you can hold your own paths and you can hold one location. But otherwise you can't, right? So that's that. And the final one here is taking your own path. So that's simply taking your own path off the board. You would take this one. And she would also get this location for free because it's not connected. Any path that is not connected to another path, so these are fine, they're connected to each other, but this one's not, goes into your own territory. You get to hold on to this. And then as the vampire, so she can't move across this space because it's a werewolf space. What she can do is place these guys, move here, and place a track. Then she would be done, and all these cards would move off, except for the illusion tracker. If she didn't use this, then it would move off with the tracks on it, with the points on it. But otherwise, everything would go away. Now, it's the werewolf's turn. The werewolf can move from the hideout anywhere for free, like that, right? And if the werewolf had anything, which he doesn't, all of his things are on the board. So he has a couple abilities here. Let's go check them out. Well, first is the D10, so he can roll the D10 die. He got a 9. Anybody standing on the 9? Nope. He gets to take this and put it into his hand. He also has, and he's used that now. He also has own path, so he'll go ahead and take one of his own paths, which is this, and he'll place it on the board. And that would mean he can move here. Now, there's a vampire path there, so he can't get there. What he can do is he can place that location there and move there. Bite says you can take any place from the board and put it back into your hand. Maybe you want to take, let's see, what would be a good spot to take? How about 3? If he takes this one, this breaks off and he gets all of these. Oh, now he can place this wherever he wants. Maybe he wants to put it over there. And he can put this here and place another location down. Boop. And finally, speed. If he can run through a vampire path as long as he ends on his own path. But there's no place where he could end on his own path. Presumably, if he had, let's say if he had this here like that, Then he could run through a vampire path, make her go back to the start, and move on and keep the potion. And he'd be that much closer to winning. Of course, he can only go back here, but he's trying to get to the goal there. And that's the idea with the turns. They rinse and repeat after that. Okay, so the idea is obviously to get to the goal. And you can move as much as you want, provided you're able to move. And you can use all of the abilities you have until you have none left. You can only use one ability, each ability once, except for a couple of the vampire passive abilities, as well as the vampire's ability to be a vampire bat and go through spaces, even though there's no path there. Also, a unique little addition to the game is this little hideout token. The hideout location space, or not location, but the hideout path, is basically something that connects to two locations. And whenever there is a hideout on the spaces, you can't actually knock your opponent off of those spaces, the locations. They're kind of hidden. Now, the only way you can actually get the hideout is if you actually remove pieces off until you just get the one location in a hideout. So if this is all that it is and it's just on the board by itself, you would get both of these pieces, and you could put the hideout where you want and place it next to a location and hide there away from your abuser or evil vampire or evil werewolf, depending on who you are, right? And that's the idea of the game. Turns go back and forth, playing your actions. It's kind of a race, kind of a chase idea where you're trying to get to the end of the board. And that is how you play Vampires versus Werewolf, or Werewolf versus Vampire. Let me tell you what I think about it. Alright, so Werewolf versus Vampire. Now, the idea of the game was pretty cool, pretty interesting and unique. And our first playthroughs were very, very confusing. Trying to understand the rules. This game is obviously not American made, and it's bring it to us. And I must say as a disclaimer that my site is working on the editing for the rules, which is nice so that we will now understand how to play the game. And after fully going through the rules and understanding it, what you see as presented to you by us in this review is how the game works. A couple little things though. First of all, these cards, some of them don't need to be played. You can actually just leave them in front of you and tap them to say that they're done. Some of them are passives, like the Vampire Bat ability. You don't need to play it. It's just there forever, and you have that as an infinite use. So that being said, the game really works. I really, really enjoy how you have to chase after your opponent, and every single ability seems extremely broken. You feel like you've done something really well by capturing that vampire and throwing him all the way back, and then you realize that the Vampire Bat ability is letting him fly straight towards you. So now he's only one space away when you originally thought you had pushed him all the way back to the end of the board, which is also kind of cool too, because you have that feeling of despair at first until you start to realize, after you've been knocked off the board, start to realize that you can actually get back to that werewolf who's pushed you off fairly quickly. And every single ability from all these guys has a uniqueness to it. The vampire, you feel like they're able to do these thematic flies and zigzags and get into the opponent quicker. The werewolf can run really fast, take locations without mercy, and pedal his way straight to that goal. I also like the idea of the potion, how you have to acquire it randomly throughout the game, and that begins with the hunt. Do you want to actually press towards your opponents in hopes to stop them from getting it, or do you think you're going to be that lucky one that gets the potion first, and then you can just take off to the goal? Now, the problem is, if you're far away and you've got that thing where you're like, I think I'll get it first, and the luck does not go on your favor, you are in for the ride of your life, because you got to chase that guy down to get there. So that's kind of the whole thing. Play close, play far away. Also, how you play tiles matters. It matters so much, because if you play incorrectly or give that Vampire Bat ability to the vampire to let you just go from one space to the next space, she can get you really easily. So playing your little paths to protect yourself from the vampire's ability is useful, very useful. And the game is very, very close and comes down to the wire every time. One other caveat, other than just explaining that the rules were a little confusing, got that settled. How it's explained now is how it's played. Although all rules are subject to change, and all the things are subject to change as well. Another thing to mention is that you got some nice little miniatures here. However, there's going to be additional miniatures in the campaign you can get that are much higher quality. As well as the board is obviously not, everything's prototype here. Everything's prototype, so everything's subject to change, and the rules are subject to change as well. However, that being said, as long as they keep to this format and this structure and the overpoweredness of both characters, this is going to be a really fun two-player chase race game. And I think with a third player, it could be even more entertaining, because there's just so many nifty little things you can do against each other. Like a take that, oh man, a lot of fun though. Really, really enjoyed this game, and if you're interested in checking this game out, I strongly suggest you do by checking the description below. Alright guys, so that's Werewolf versus Vampire by Mobile Games Design, Torsten Dinkheller. A wonderful little chase game, like I said. If you like this video and you want to see more, go ahead and check out the rest of our videos here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment, as well as checking out our website, unfilteredgamer.com. Blog posts, giveaways, and our big Kickstarter list. We got tons of stuff going on down there, as well as our live stuff going on Facebook every Wednesday, 7 to 10. Also, remember to check the description below if you're interested. Should be on Kickstarter. As well as checking out our affiliate websites, everythingboardgames.com, DevToast Gaming, and the Giveaway Geek. Some wonderful, great sites, tons of blog posts, even more giveaways and content than even my own site. Alright guys, thanks for watching again, and once again, I look forward to seeing you next time.